Yeah, welcome to the No State Project for this November 12th, 2016, live from the fortified compound in the Mesa, Arizona. It is the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM. That's, LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. We're live most Saturdays from 4 to 7 Eastern Standard Time and 1 to 4 Pacific Time. And if you're in Arizona, as last Sunday, we are also 2 to 5 because we're Mountain Time. Everybody else changes. So somebody, I think Dr. Mindbender on the chat gave me, there was a moment that my heart, stopped a little bit and my everything tightened up when he was just, no show today. What happened to the show? And oh, that's right, because I know he didn't remember that Arizona changed time, but didn't change time with everybody else. So if you're in Arizona, the show is starting an hour later. So I have a little more time to. Oh, who am I kidding? I don't prepare for shows. But it's more time for me to get set up for the show. We've already got a line of calls, so we'll get to them in the next segment because this is the shortest segment. But if you do want to join the big show today, it is 218-632-9399. 218-632-9399. And Skype, of course, is Frank Rizzo 3. Frank Rizzo with the number 3. You can also email me at markstevens@mail.com. So just a heads up. I don't know why so many people seem to have a problem accessing me during the week. It's all on markstevens.net. All you have to do is go to the website. You can email me at several different ways. I have 3 different email addresses: markstevens@mail.com, markstevens@riseup.net, markstevens@markstevens.net. You can also, the Frank Rizzo 3 is also up there, and the phone number is up there, which is why I sometimes say 602. It is a Phoenix number. Very easily accessible. If you are having a problem, you can just leave a message on one of the articles. Pick a recent one. Well, it doesn't matter. A recent comment will show up regardless of how old the article is. You just don't have to leave your personal information in there. I can see your email address when I go on to the backside of the website. So very easy to contact there. And we've got a lot of stuff to get to. If you go to markstevens.net, you'll notice that in the last 24 hours, I have posted 2 videos and articles that we'll get to. So one is debunking a prosecutor's typical nonsense, his legalistic gibberish, if you will. And then we have a success story from Texas. So regardless of all the people say, you might be able to get this stuff put through a cart in that there Arizona, but that crap don't fly in Texas. No, that's just not true. We've had a lot of tickets and whatnot thrown out in Texas. So there's none of this. That might fly there, but it's not going to fly in New Hampshire. They don't put up. No. We've had success all over 3 continents. Some are more, some places they're individuals in those robes and they have their own temperament. And so that there's no merit to say this crap doesn't fly in New Hampshire or this never works in New York. No, just go to markstevens.net and you'll see that we've had success on 3 continents because taking a rational approach, using the Socratic Method, keeping the burden of proof on the one making the accusation is always effective. Now, it's not always going to result in getting something tossed out. No, because you're dealing with crooks. But most of the time, it does. And I'll go through the new videos and whatnot later. We are going to, barring any technical problems, November 16th, this Wednesday at 4 Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, an hour before Free Talk Live comes on. So you have a whole hour to lead into Free Talk Live, so you don't got to miss any of that. We'll be doing the first live broadcast on YouTube. And remember the call-in number. It goes 218-632-9399. And you can get that at markstevens.net because we will be taking calls. Because, honestly, who the hell wants to listen to me ramble on for an hour straight? No. The whole point of the show is to educate and to help people be able to defend themselves against bureaucratic attacks. So, I'll talk more about that during this show. And I noticed that Nathan Frazier, who the podcast was on right before, that he used the word deuces when he ended the show. And I got to be honest, I had no idea what the hell that meant. I didn't even hear somebody say that before episode 2 of The Walking Dead, where you meet King Ezekiel and one of his right-hand men, I can't remember his name, uses the phrase deuces. And so I didn't even really think about it until the show, which is pretty awesome. Then I was listening to Nathan's podcast. They are here on LRN.FM, and then he ended the show with deuces. And I guess it's again, I had to look up, what the hell is this supposed? I mean, I heard this before. So what does it mean? And it's slang for peace. So I guess that's a new way or a different way of ending his show, the way I end this show by saying salud, which is peace or life, and to life. So anyway, deuces. So if you haven't seen the new Walking Dead, you can stream it. Definitely check it out. One hell of an opening, but still, I'm not one for spoilers. So I'm not going to say anything, but great show. And I did hear something Daryl Perry had said, one of the commercials here on LRN.FM. I had not heard this before. It was information about the 411, and I really liked the line that they used, because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. I guess there's exceptions to that if you're talking about Russia, but because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. I mean, we have to find some levity here, because otherwise you would just be in a fetal position crying all day because of all the times the cops have been called, especially for someone who's considered to have a depression, some kind of psychological problem that they're dealing with. The cops show up, they wind up killing them. We had one in Mesa just a couple months ago where they said that the woman was suicidal and the cops showed up and killed her. So, I have to agree with that sentiment. The cops, your friends typically will not show up when you're in trouble to shoot you. So, so I thought that line was pretty cool. And I wanted to bring up there were two. It's just like 2016 just seems to be that year where things are going into the crapper. And so there's two more deaths that were reported this week. There might be more. I don't know but I just heard of these. But a very influential Canadian songwriter and singer, Leonard Cohen, passed away on the 7th. So that was just 4 or 5 days ago. I guess 5 days ago. Yeah, 5 days ago. He passed away at age 82. And so for those who aren't familiar, he's probably most known for his song Hallelujah. And so it's sad to hear him passing. So rest in peace. And then an actor who was actually in one of my favorite movies, and he was 83 years old, Robert Vaughn. I know they say that he's most popular or most known from The Man from U.N.C.L.E., but I've never seen The Man from U.N.C.L.E. But what I did see him in, as far as TV shows, one of my personal all-time favorite was Robert Vaughn was in an episode of Columbo. So, he... let me see what we got there. All right, Calvin. The favorite movie that I mentioned, I think it was 68 or 69, and he was in a great movie called Bullet. And if you're not familiar with Bullet, I recommend that you definitely go on to Netflix or Hulu or whatever, or stream it somewhere on Putlocker. Definitely check out Bullet. It's a great movie. And I don't mean just because Steve McQueen was in it, and that Steve McQueen was driving an awesome big block 67 Mustang. But it's a great movie, so definitely check it out. So rest in peace. Robert Vaughn passed away this week at age 83. We'll be back with your calls in just a moment. Don't go away. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. I'm Marc Stevens, author of Government Indicted. And boy, we're going to do our best. We're going to get to everybody. This is something which is really encouraging for the show, and I appreciate this, that they're all new callers, except for one. We'll get to Carl in a moment. But if you're paying attention to the show, we're regularly getting new callers every week, which is awesome. And so I know the 3 hours goes pretty fast. That's why we're doing also a live stream starting this Wednesday, so that we can get to everybody. Because the important thing here is that people are being empowered, given the tools to be able to effectively defend yourself. And that's why, go to markstevens.net and check out the latest success story where Ginger's friend in Bexar County, Texas, was able to get the charges dismissed for insufficient evidence, which is exactly what we've been saying the whole time. They don't have any evidence, and that's why the judge did that. It's explicit. Insufficient evidence. So we have direct evidence. Direct evidence, not just circumstantial. So anytime somebody wants to turn around and say that's not why the judge dismissed it, you're making an assumption. You don't have the evidence. So I urge people, you don't have to listen to me. Just look at the evidence and make up your own mind. Don't be misled by these people. You can listen to both sides, of course, but make your decision on the evidence. Keep an open mind, and don't be like the critics who have a closed mind that there's only one explanation and they have to get the evidence to conform to that or marginalize it. Very clear. It says right in there, and you can see some unbelievably good Photoshop work as far as the highlighting, which, of course, that's all I did was highlight it. But you can see insufficient evidence was the reason why the judge threw it out. So, yeah. We want to get to your calls because we are jammed. We have Carl from Fulton, California. Welcome back to the show today. What do you got for us?
Hello. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing well, Carl. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. In fact, well, as we were talking about last week, as far as my case, it seems that Prop 64, unfortunately, for being kind of almost sacrilegious, so to speak, may actually help me out.
All right, you're going to have to let us know what that is.
Prop 64 actually legalized cannabis here in California. And I was looking to try and see if I could get my case vacated. Well, it looks like they may just actually expunge it and or make it all disappear.
Nice.
As it stands.
Nice. I just want
to
let's just clear up. This is for recreational use of a certain amount.
Actually, the case or the new law is for recreational right. And my case was actually for growing, but they're looking at the cases, and what I actually ended up settling for was far less. It was actually just storing a controlled substance.
Oh, okay, but the Prop 64, because for those who are not familiar, because we do have a global audience here on the No Say Project. For those who aren't aware of Prop 64 and what's going on in California, medical use marijuana or cannabis was already legal, and so what they did was they another baby step to make some recreational use decriminalized.
And it's also going to has a retroactive clause in it, in that it's going to be essentially expunging an awful lot of very minor misdemeanor type cases, and potentially even reversing a bunch of cases that are essentially pending and or what have you. It's going to change potentially an awful lot. So, and from that standpoint, like I said, it's a bit sacrilegious that I'm actually appreciating the vote and all of that right at the moment. And then on a second note, I'm actually really about to be somewhat hypocritical in that I'm about to utilize the system to its full force and effect, and knowing everything that we've already talked about in all my own studies. It doesn't matter, because in the situation right now, because of their current atmosphere, we don't have any other mechanism, and I am literally on the ground floor of blowing up a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme. And I want our current system to take these people down. I don't care what. And I fully admit to the hypocrisy of that. I fully admit. But it is the only mechanism we really have right now.
You don't have the mechanism of maybe producing a video or getting a news station to report it?
Well, there's all that too. But the thing is, what it comes down to is I have a family member that has been injured by this Ponzi scheme, and I want them to get their money back first before anything else. So,
you lost money in this.
What's that?
You've lost money personally in this?
I have not, but a close family member has.
Aha.
Lost close to $500,000. Well, actually, a little over. And so, like I said, I'm going to be a bit hypocritical, and that I'm going to utilize the only mechanism that I actually have truly in place to get that back. It is what it is until we can actually figure out a better system, which I'm working on in my own mind, and I'm sure a lot of other people are too, but it is what it is.
Well, have you brought the evidence to a news agency?
Actually, what we're right at the moment doing is we're making sure that we got all of our pieces in place to make sure that we got essentially every I dotted, every T crossed. And, yeah, we're going to be doing that. We're actually looking at several different – the people that we're dealing with have actually been investigated by FINRA and a few others. They got several lawsuits against them right now. And it's literally to the tune of a few $1 million, and they're targeting primarily old ladies. The oldest that I know of right now currently, she's got a case that's actually pending in Orange County courts. She's 93 years old.
But have the courts
took her entire retirement account?
Wow. Has the court been able to lock down the accounts of the defendants?
That's what we're trying to get done right now. That's what's actually in the process right at the moment, is we're trying to get the right people, the right authorities to take notice, to realize what's going on. And in fact, one of the things that, in a odd sense, we're trying to get the local authority to claim jurisdiction.
Oh, okay. Well, we're up against the break. Hold on.
But what it comes down to is...
Wait. We're up against the break, so
okay.
We'll pick up from there.
Okay.
All right. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. We'll be back with Carl in just a moment. Welcome back to the No State Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of Government Indicted. The website is markstevens.net. You want to... we have one of the longest lines of callers we've had. I want everyone to be patient. Remember, if you're on a call line, you can still hear the show. So the number is 218-632-9399. If we don't get to someone today, then just please keep in mind that we'll have a 1-hour live stream on YouTube on my channel, No State Project. And there are no commercials, so there's no interruption of the thought. So I can get rid of callers like Carl a lot faster than having to go and wait for all these commercials to go through. I'm only kidding, Carl. Hello?
Okay.
I was only...
No,
so you were
yeah,
saying... You were saying that you were trying to get the local gangsters to take jurisdiction?
Right. What I find absolutely hilarious in all of this, and part of the reason why I'm calling, is because it literally came down to they didn't want jurisdiction. And the only thing I could say is, the fuck? Are you serious? Really? You guys just never hesitate on that normally.
That's not true.
Well, in a sense that, if it comes down to, if there was a robbery at the bank at the local Main Street corner, they would jump all over that, and they wouldn't tell the people, oh, you got to go to the next county over because that's where the bank robbers actually lived. They wouldn't say that.
Well, that's because it's a bank, and and the banks are one of the controllers. The banks are, that's why they're too big to fail. They're too big to prosecute because they're the boss. They're too, when they say they're too big to fail, what that really means is they're higher on the political pecking order, and you can't go after someone higher than you on the pecking order.
Right.
And
Well,
they don't like taking jurisdiction when we go after them. They never have jurisdiction when we go after them with a lawsuit. So
right. Well, and it's not the bank that actually did this. And in fact, one of the guys did work for a bank that currently in one of the lawsuits, the bank is being sued for vicarious liability. They will probably wiggle out of that. But what it comes down to is two things. If there was a simple robbery of whatever denomination, the cops in that piece of dirt would assume jurisdiction over it, regardless of where the robber lived and or did normal business. And even in contractual stuff, in terms of like if you were to go to UCC and or restatement in second, it basically states that the jurisdiction is wherever a contract is signed or the injured party lives. Well, the contract and the injured party live in the same jurisdiction that they went to, that they said, no, you got to go to where the people actually do business.
No, if they're talking about a crime, territorial jurisdiction, while also predicated on being in a certain territory and that the Constitution applies, has to do with where the crime was committed. So if I committed a crime in Toronto, they're not going to have jurisdiction. If the system was legitimate, of course, they wouldn't have jurisdiction over me here in Mesa, Arizona, because the crime wasn't committed here. These guys, for some reason, are not getting involved, and I don't have enough context to give anything more than an educated guess. And maybe it's the type of the people who are involved, and maybe they have an interest in it. I don't know. Again, everyone, that's speculation. I don't know why they would turn it down.
It's a very odd deal. But what it is we went to the basic lowest level. We went to the local PD. And what our next step is, we're going to go to the local DA to bring it to their attention, because obviously the local PD is probably got just too many low IQs working there to understand their laws, their code, statutes, and regulations well enough to realize what's in front of them. So we'll go to the next level. We're already set to take it on a civil suit anyway. We're just trying to get enough of the so-called legal authorities involved to get it taken care of on a criminal level as well, to get these guys shut down in such a way that they can't wiggle out of it, because they have been, ever since 2009, they've been investigated and they've wiggled out. They've been investigated and wiggled out by even FINRA, SEC, and all this other stuff. And they keep seemingly gaining out from underneath it. And part of the reason is they're working in conjunction with an attorney that's about as crooked as a frickin' pretzel. So it's a very mixed up web, and we're doing things in such a way that we're, like I said, we're trying to use the basic mechanism that's in place to shut these guys down because of the damage that they're doing and to the types of injured parties that they are seeking out. And they are currently, as we speak, they would take no less than $100,000, but they will take your money right now as we speak. And they already know that they've got at least 2 different lawsuits and a criminal investigation currently going against them in one shape or another. And they're still ready to take money. So
do you have
this is kind of where we're at.
But do you have...
And like I said, local authorities are a bit reluctant at this moment to assume jurisdiction.
Yeah, that raises some questions. But just to be clear, I wanted have you filed the paperwork to lock the accounts of the defendants in that Orange County proceeding?
What we're doing, this is why we're trying to go through it in the criminal sense first, mainly because of the fact that if we can get this done on the criminal sense, it streamlines the civil part, and primarily for the victims themselves, because once it's taken care of criminally, the civil part then really comes down to the damages. It really streamlines the entire process.
But I think part of
it shuts them down, and what it happens is it seizes the property in a much faster sense. And we're only talking the difference between a day or two and the amount of time that we're spending right now.
It doesn't sound like it, because you're not getting, while you're trying to get the police or the DA to do that, you could put the paperwork in, and should be putting the paperwork in, and should have done it already at the beginning to lock their assets. Before. I would do that right away. If you've got hardcore documented evidence of wrongdoing, I would file to Monday morning to get, to keep them from moving, assets. Because otherwise,
right,
what's probably going to happen, and this is an old story, what's going to happen is look, the fact is they already know you're coming after them. If they haven't moved things yet, they're going to real soon, unless they're the stupidest criminals. They have to know what's coming, because it's probably not the first time they've done it. I would do it right away.
Well, as it stands, and we know this to be true, because they are a bit dumb. Let's put it straight out, Mark. They are actually they are using zero logic. They are right now, as we speak, they just finished closing an escrow deal on an apartment complex, a 2.8 mil apartment complex. They're still putting money into properties. They're just not paying anybody out. And in fact, you could actually see this guy online, because this guy is very kind of out there in the open a bit. If you anybody types in the name Emily DeYoung Esparza and looks under Inside Wedding, outdoor California wedding with Mexican charm. This is the couple. That's the man that's the behind-the-scenes guy that's supposedly doing all the actual investing. His buddy is a guy by the name of Tony. That wedding, you look at that wedding, that's a $250,000 wedding, and they had that wedding after they started defaulting on some of their supposed loan/investments. And this is real deal, bro. This is real deal. And this is stuff that, like I said, I'm not scared to put this out, because, like I said, we're looking at every avenue.
Okay, well, I understand that. I would still get, if you've got something filed already, do what you can to at least lock with the assets that are, that you can probably still get. We're out of time, so I appreciate the call. My name is Mark Stevens, and the website, of course, markstevens.net. Thank you. There's Carl in California. Appreciate the call. Keep us in the loop. Let us know what happens. We'll be back with your calls in just a few moments.
Everybody have a good day.
Don't go away. Welcome back to the No State Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of Government Indicted. You can join me here on the big show. And if not, we can't get to everyone today, then you can also remember we're going to be doing a live broadcast on Wednesday on my YouTube channel, so definitely check that out. So I just want to point something out about the fact of insulting. And I know I'm guilty of this myself, but, someone's a thief, they're a thief, especially if they're defending their position. But if someone's on the chat and they're anarchist, I think some of the things are maybe taken out of context, or they're misunderstanding somebody. But insulting people on the chat is not a productive way to go. And so, Tom, what I was mentioning is, I'm not equating and saying that killing people is the same as killing animals. What I'm saying is that if you do actually support that, I'm not insulting you because you do support the unnecessary death of animals. I rather discuss things to you as an equal, on an intellectual basis, instead of hurling insults at you or anybody else. That's not the way we're going to accomplish things, at least not on the chat. And so I know I have said that police or prosecutors or whatnot, the best thing that they could do is kill themselves, because they've proven themselves to be irredeemable. No amount of rational discourse with these people, even if it was possible, is going to change their minds. You're not going to change the mind of somebody whose very life is dependent upon that industry, whether it's government or the meat industry or the dairy industry. So it's very, very difficult. But, the prosecutors that I have said that about, and I'm not excusing if I've insulted them, said they should kill themselves, have already gone and proven that they will continue hurting people, knowing they're hurting people and not giving a damn. So I just don't think that we need in the chat to be hurling insults. It's easy enough just to start another chat like which you guys have done, and just don't invite somebody. But I've spoken with Joe. I don't think he's supporting the forcible payment of a military. Just that it may be necessary to defend your property. So, but he's not calling in today, so it's not something. I just think we don't need to hurl insults at people on the chat. A prosecutor, yeah, it's more understandable there because the prosecutors, especially this guy up in Edmonton, he's proven himself to be less than professional, and he has no problem arguing without evidence. No amount of rational discourse is going to change this guy's mind from what I can see. He's not open to it. Joey is. People in the chat tend to be. So we don't insult. This is like why so many people were not going to the damn forum anymore because it was horrible. I wasn't even posting there, but I didn't have the time to clean it up. It's a lot better now, though. So anyway, we'll get back to that. I'll dedicate a whole show, and I even have on my list of things to discuss today, veganism and anarchy and how they really are one and the same thing. But we'll get to but we got so many new callers here. It's so great. We have area code 503. I'm guessing you're in Oregon, but what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Robbie. I'm calling from Portland.
Robbie in Portland. What do you got for us today?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I've been using the Socratic Method in the courtroom, and I've had 10 arraignment hearings so far.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And I've been sort of developing strategy and whatnot, and have noticed that they've just been trying to amp up the threats and the violence, and I just kind of wanted to get my story out there so that maybe transparency would keep me safe.
Well, is this a traffic situation?
No, what it was I was at the airport back in at the end of February, attempting to go through TSA.
Gotcha. You have a video about that.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't want to be injured in any way to travel or to fly, so I requested to go through the metal detector rather than the body scanner or getting groped by a TSA agent.
Okay.
I was having a voluntary conversation, I thought, with the TSA guy, and we agreed to go out and see if we could get a refund. And next thing we know, a police officer intercepts us, starts talking, and ends up threatening me, and then I got arrested.
Well, I just want to, to point out, because your position was you did not want to have to travel and have damage to your body, and so you prefer to go through the metal detector as opposed to the pat down. So, not that I agree with the TSA, I don't. Criminals, every last one of them. I don't think you can really say that the pat down was more dangerous to your health than a metal detector, which is hitting your body with I imagine some kind of electronic rays, electrical rays.
Well, okay, so sorry. As far as that goes, the metal detectors, we've been using them for years and years and years, and I think that there has been very little damage. The issue that I have with the pat downs is that they can be very traumatic for some people, especially people who have been abused in the past. So I wanted to kind of fight a little bit for that cause as well, because I think that trauma could be more psychologically damaging than a metal detector would be.
Okay, is that the case? But and this is kind of personal. But is that a concern? Is something that could happen to you? I mean, because you were talking about your health. But so as far as this particular situation, and I know I'm probably going way off the beaten path here, but I just wanted to clear that. I mean, is it an issue? You don't have to give any details, but is that a particular issue for you?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Being touched by strangers is definitely an issue for me.
All right. Nope. Understood. Okay. And so I did not have the opportunity. I saw a couple minutes at the beginning when you were talking with the agent. I was not able to watch the whole video, so you're going to have to kind of give us the cliff notes on this.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was, basically the stuff that happened at the airport, it boiled down to, a police officer, for some reason, told me that all of a sudden now I either had to go through security or leave the airport. Even though I was being perfectly reasonable, I thought we were having a voluntary conversation and that anybody could have left at any time. All of a sudden, I found myself being threatened. And then when I was trying to clarify, like, who this person worked for, who this person was, what authority they were claiming, and whatnot, he basically said, "We're not getting anywhere. Here are your options. Now, what do you want to do?" I said, "I just want to get on my plane that I paid for," and he arrested me.
Jeez. He arrested you for what?
Yeah. The charges are criminal trespassing and interfering with a peace officer.
Wow. That took a lot of... That was creative. So you have a ticket. You had a paid-for ticket, and he's claiming you're trespassing?
Yeah, because he's claiming that I refused to leave when he told me to, basically. The thing that's interesting about this ordeal is that I feel like, they don't even have a case as far as the merits go.
Right.
I've already reviewed the statutes that they are accusing me of, and there is no way where if I were, as long as I'm able to do a trial, if I were able to do a trial situation and knew how all of that stuff worked, then I would win on the merits alone. Like, I have no doubt for that. But they've blown this whole thing up and continuously violated my rights in worse ways, just because I've been asking about evidence establishing jurisdiction. And
we'll get under their skin, that's for sure. But why?
Oh, yeah.
Before we're out of time for this segment, of course we'll finish. We'll continue at the top of the hour. What are they actually saying to you in court? I mean, 10 arraignments. I think that's beating even. I think Ginger has got quite a few. If I'm getting the right one in Texas, because there was someone who called recently, and so if it's Ginger Gray, if I get the wrong name, I'm sorry. I would call, and they were like at 6 or 7, and so you've definitely. So what is pushing them to keep doing this?
Well,
you know what? We're actually up against it. I'm sorry. I spoke too much, and we're up against the break now. So I know the callers can't hear the bumpers, which is really too bad because we've got Rush on. But we'll be back. We'll finish. We'll continue this in the next segment. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. We'll get the second of 3 hours of Anarchy Radio when we come back in just a moment. All right. We get about 4 or 5 minutes, so just hold tight, Roddy. Welcome to the second of 3 hours of Anarchy Radio right here on the Liberty Radio Network. Yes, I'm going to still call it Liberty Radio Network instead of Internet Stream Network. Welcome to be back here. We're live every Saturday for 3 hours here on the LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. This is the second of 3 hours. We got a lot of calls to get to. If we don't get to everybody, we're going to have a 1-hour stream on Wednesday. So mark that down. This Wednesday, November 16th, on my YouTube channel. And I just want to point out, because I don't get into discussions of what just happened this week because it's kind of fruitless. But I just want to point something out because it's going on in the chat. It's a logical fallacy called the false dilemma. The false dilemma, also called false dichotomy, false binary, black and white thinking, bifurcation, denying a conjunct, the either-or fallacy, fallacy of exhaustive hypotheses, fallacy of the excluded middle, the fallacy of false choice, or the fallacy of the false alternative is a type of informal fallacy that involves a situation in which only limited alternatives are considered, when in fact there's at least one additional option. The opposite of this fallacy is to argument to moderation. So this is kind of what I talk about. One of the things I talk about in the video I do about the prosecutor in Canada, because what critics to the show will do is they will say that and some of these critics claim to be anarchists. which is fine. Be critical of the actual material, but try to do it without a logical fallacy. They come out and they say that not only am I wrong about the reason for a dismissal, like what I posted today, but that their explanation of it is the only explanation. No other explanations are possible. You know you're dealing with someone who's dishonest when they say there's only one single explanation allowed. That is not rational. That's not scientific. That is a bully. That is somebody who's closed-minded. Anytime somebody is doing that, they're wrong. It's called the false dilemma fallacy. So keep that in mind. It's just like, well, I have to vote for one or the other. No, you don't. There are many other options out there as far as voting or not voting. And there are plenty of non-political ways that we can go about bringing about change. We don't have to vote. So this either-or stuff, you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. Oh, give me a break. Come on. Life isn't always, most of the time, life isn't black and white like that. So let's knock that crap off. But let's get back to what's important. We got Robbie in Portland. So what I was asking you before the break there, Robbie, was what are they doing in court? What are you saying, and what are they responding with that they're going to they're putting your arraignments off so many times?
Well, oh God, be careful. First, there's a lot of background noise.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what.
A lot of noise. Yeah, that's not going to.
Because we checked it in the middle to make sure and everything. We wouldn't be done.
That's not going. I can hear the guy behind you loud and clear. So it's not going to. It just isn't working.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah, we still have the background noise. I can still hear them louder.
Like a voice in the background, and I'm not able to.
Is that a game, Andy?
All right, I'm gonna.
Hello?
Yeah, if we can't get past the guys talking behind you, then I'm gonna have to either mute you up or have you call back again.
Okay. Well, are you there?
Yeah, it seems to have quieted down. So what's going on in court that they are having you go back for 10 arraignments?
So a lot of it has to do with, it seems like, attorney issues. So first, they had me at this lower court, which is similar to a traffic court. They call it Justice Center in Portland. And the first judge basically, even though I was objecting the whole time, he appointed an attorney who then entered a not guilty plea. The judge he told me to, I asked him, you want me to sign this document under duress? And he said yes. So he basically forced me into this agreement against my will. So I had several conversations with the public defender on the phone. I recorded them, and she ended up at the second arraignment hearing. She ended up telling this other judge, because they'd given me a different judge every time.
Every time? Wow. So you've had 10 judges?
Well, I've had, 10 judges.
Holy
there was
crap.
one time where the judge repeated, but that was just to tell me that I was being moved to the district court, and he wouldn't let me speak. He said, if you speak, I will have you in contempt so fast your head will spin.
And that's because you had an attorney there against your will.
No attorney at that time.
Oh,
so,
whoa. Wow. What was his justification to hold you in contempt for talking and defending yourself?
He didn't express one. I think that he got defeated at the last hearing, basically, and then decided to send me to a different court, to a higher court, and just basically said, shut up. and I asked him, I don't have the right to speak. I don't have the right to defend myself. And he just said, be quiet. He yelled at me.
Did you at any time try the unsigned plea of guilty?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've told them the whole time that I tell them every time my intention is to plead guilty. I simply am trying to be informed of the cause and nature of these proceedings, and has the prosecutor submitted evidence establishing jurisdiction for this court to impose upon me, yes or no? And
wow.
every time they just start yelling, they threaten me, they steamroll me. I did have I've embarrassed every judge, literally. I had one judge say yes to the question that when I asked, has the prosecutor submitted the evidence, and she said yes. Well, this was when I got to the higher court, and I had already asked the new prosecutor, because I've had 5 different prosecutors now.
Wow.
And I asked this new prosecutor, I said, so before the hearing started, I said, so by the way, has there been any evidence establishing jurisdiction? Have you submitted that yet? And she said, I don't know. I haven't had time to read the file or review the case. So when this judge answered yes on the record that the prosecutor had submitted evidence, I said, how is it that you're aware of evidence that the prosecutor has submitted when the prosecutor herself isn't aware of it?
Nice.
And she immediately went to the threat of violence. She immediately just went to, have you noticed that I'm the judge and you're the defendant? And from there she just.
Oh, gee, Robbie. This would have been more appropriate for you to be my first and only caller on the new live broadcast on Wednesdays. Whoa. So let me see. What do we call it when somebody treats an adult like he's 5? Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. Look, for everyone listening, this is more evidence that they don't look at you as an equal because they don't have to. They're higher on the political pecking order, and that's the problem with violent hierarchies. There is a change in your psychology, in your behavior, in your actions, in your thoughts when you are put on a pedestal above others. There may be that one extremely rare person, 1 in 1,000, it doesn't have that happen. But this is why, as anarchists, one of the reasons why, as anarchists, we are so against hierarchies. It's this kind of crap. You can never have any kind of service provide, like police or whatnot, where the people who are providing the service are higher up on a pecking order than you. It doesn't work out. They're not there to serve you. That's not how things work. I'm going to have to keep you on for another segment. This is we'll continue this with Robbie in Portland in just a few moments. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. 3 hours of anarchy radio every Saturday. And now, an hour every Wednesday, so don't go away. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. I'm Marc Stevens, author of Government Indicted, which you can get at markstevens.net. Has a whole model for effectively defending yourself and limiting the damage these predators called governments want to do to you. Remember, there is no such thing as government. That is a reification fallacy. To have a government, you have to have a state. To have a state, you have to have citizens. To have citizens, it has to be evidence proving that your membership in the body politic owing a duty of allegiance in return for duty of protection, that these being reciprocal obligations, and not one single critic of this show, not one, even if they've come to the website, has even dared to even try to present such evidence. You know why? Because the critics tend to be pretty smart guys, and they know full well there's not a damn thing you can do. You can't even begin to prove that such evidence exists. You can't. Why? Because they're just men and women forcing us to pay. And that is exactly why we can go into court and get so many things tossed out. I just want to thank those from Down Under tuned in today. So we got Matthew from Brisbane. I think you're from, he's from the Brisbane area, I believe. And he's asking, how are they getting trespassed from anything the caller did? And so welcome back, Robbie in Portland. And you have to send me the link to the video so we can get that linked in the show notes. And so what you mentioned before was that they're saying trespassing because you didn't leave when the police officer told you to, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Keeping in mind that you just didn't want to take, you wanted another choice of inspection, if you will, so that you could freely travel with a ticket you had already purchased, that you did have a ticket, and so you were entitled to be in the airport.
Yep.
Hey. Okay, so...
And I even pulled up their website, which said, you could go through the walk-through metal detector or through the body scanner, and if you didn't go through those, then you would be subject to a pat-down. And I pulled it up and I showed him, and he just said, well, I don't think that's what that says. and he actually said, because of my age, because you have to be either below a certain age or above a certain age before you can ask for the metal detector. And I asked, well, isn't that age discrimination? And he just didn't care. So it was interesting,
well,
to say the least.
See, you would think that when you have their actual sacred writ and that it's very clear, you would think that you could prevail on an interpretation or actually just reading the law itself. And unfortunately, that's almost never the case. It's almost never true that we can prevail by just showing them the code. Because anything that goes against their worldview is going to be viewed as wrong. It doesn't matter if it's black and white or what they call black letter law. It doesn't matter because their mind is so shut to any evidence outside of their belief system. So if it's not their appeal to tradition, if it's not the way they've always done it, it doesn't matter if you come in and show that. We're dealing with people where perception rules over evidence, and that's a very scary group of people to be involved with, which unfortunately, Robbie, is the majority of the world. How many people do you know that can change their perception and beliefs to conform to the evidence and the data before them?
There are a handful, but very few, and I talk to a lot of people.
Yeah. So where are we here? I mean, I have you filed the motion to dismiss and the discovery request?
Yeah. So I have. One thing that I've done is I've attempted to do mostly verbal motions or handwritten motions. So I did motions to vacate the not guilty plea that was entered on the prosecutor's behalf, and just did it handwritten because I sort of just wanted to show that, this is who I am. This is, if you're going to tell me that, I have to write a motion, then I'm just going to write it on a piece of paper and show, my perspective of, what a motion should look like. And I followed some of their form, but just in handwritten form, and they accepted it, but judges just decline the motions on no grounds other than their arbitrary opinions.
Okay, well, there's follow-up, so you can contact me off air that we can get you, and you probably, you're out of judges for a motion to change judge, but you definitely have to hit the prosecution with a motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct. I want to just point out that the disgraceful behavior of the lawyer with the robe on, and just let people know this is a very common theme. Not that they necessarily talk to you the way they did to you, but they always talk down to us. But I want the significance of this to not be overlooked. The idea that they will not even entertain on a mala prohibita type thing, because there's no victim. They're not even saying you caused any damage. To not allow or entertain a plea of guilty in such a situation. Because this is what we have to keep in mind, why this is so damn significant. All you are asking the prosecution to do when we do this, people, is to ask, you just want to know that the prosecution has already done what they're supposed to do, which was to have some evidence, make a prima facie case against Robbie that would lead a reasonable person to believe that he is in fact guilty of the wrongdoing. Not beyond a reasonable doubt, because that's a trial, but a prima facie showing, which means you have to at least put the evidence on the table. It's the same as we have the bloody knife. That's let's just say for sake of argument, that's prima facie. The bloody knife may not prove beyond a reasonable doubt, but at this time, at arraignment, the bloody knife is prima facie evidence that so and so, the defendant committed the act. And in the course of trial, that's your opportunity, and they have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, and you get to cross-examine and find out where did they find the knife, who tested the knife, and so that's where those things come in so that you can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. So all we're asking is that has the prosecution done a minimum job in showing a prima facie case at this point? And they fight you. They insult you. They sometimes yell. They threaten you with contempt. Why can't they just come out and say the prosecution has presented the evidence and show you where on the ticket or the complaint it was? You know the answer to that, Robbie, because they can't. Because there is no evidence.
Yep, there is no evidence. And, the second judge at the second arraignment hearing did throw me in contempt because I was, he told me I'm not going to entertain blah, 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 and he made me take a recess. He tried to get the public defender that I still had at that time, who, by the way, had just violated attorney-client privilege by talking about stuff that she and I had talked about over the phone in the courtroom while I was not present.
Oh, yeah, you need to file a complaint against them with the bar. Hold on, we'll finish in the next segment. My name is Marc Stevens. Talk with Robbie in Portland. We'll be taking your calls and more in just a moment. Don't go away. Oh, he nailed that break. That was perfect. No one on the podcast will know just how perfect that break was. Okay, we'll finish in the next segment. Robbie, I'll be right back. Welcome back to the No State Project, 3 hours of anarchy radio here on the Liberty Radio Network. And what we mean by anarchy is the little translation from the Greek, meaning no rulers. Not no rules. We believe in the rule of being, first and foremost, do no harm. Basically, treating others the way you want to be treated. Do no harm. And we oppose a violent hierarchy. We oppose a violent ruling class, which is what we have now. And we oppose it on moral grounds. It's a moral code that even those at the top of the hierarchy and higher than us on the hierarchy would agree with, of do no harm. They just buy into a sick, perverse, double standard that normal, rational people do not subscribe to. It is not okay to violate the principle of do no harm just because you call yourself a government. That's why we're anarchists. That's why we've been able to, on moral grounds and logical, rational grounds, been able to get so many things thrown away. And that's why someone like Robbie in Portland, who can try to plead guilty to preserve precious judicial resources, all he wants is, has the prosecution met their burden so far? And they go crazy because there is no evidence. If there was evidence, they would just provide it, and they wouldn't. Hey, Robbie, how many times have we heard people say, well, it's government, it's the law, it doesn't require evidence, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
This is the level of intellect that you get with people with a prison system. I don't have to prove anything to you, the plebes. I have a prison system. My gosh, people, they've actually told me that almost straight out. In the new video, I quote directly basically from Bill Montgomery, who unfortunately, unlike Joe Arpaio, was not voted out. His office, through Jerry Cobb, I have the emails to prove it, said the reason why the proof that the laws apply to me because I'm physically in Arizona is because they put other people in prison. I have it all on my website. So I'm not making it up. Criminals.
Yep. And that's something that I've been telling them, like, to their face now, is that, Judge, I just want to state for the record that you're acting with criminal intent. And
wow, nice.
And I've been accusing the prosecutor of criminal intent, and I think that's why the last prosecutor actually assigned one of the people. She's their boss, so she assigned a lower district attorney, deputy district attorney, to take over as prosecutor, and she's now refusing to clarify what will happen if I do not show up at the next hearing, where before they've always told me that there would be a warrant issued for my arrest. But ever since I started talking about false imprisonment, she no longer wants to respond to that question.
Well, I would do this.
I think
if put a little more heat on them. And I think this should be a regular part of defending against these people. We should file even before there's a conviction. We should do it, right off the bat. You get charged. You give them an opportunity to do the right thing. They don't do it. File a claim against their insurance company.
Okay.
And let's have that now, from now on, let that be a standard thing in what we do. Because I was talking to JT the other day. I always miss having him on the show, but he's doing productive things today. Maybe he could join me on Wednesday. But the only people that we are going to have access to outside the political pecking order, well, technically, to be able to affect change from inside the pecking order, like who's going to get the prosecution to back off? Well, if the insurance company is actually concerned that there's a legitimate claim here that could cost them a lot of money, and the most they can get out of you is, let's say, $1,000, they may actually be able to exercise some discretion and influence there and say, you know what? You had this guy with 10 arraignments. He's trying to plead guilty each time, and you treated him like he was 5? Just withdraw the damn prosecution. I think it's definitely worth us looking into and doing. Because you can always bring it into small claims if they turn it down, and they're not allowed to use an attorney.
Oh, nice.
So it's definitely, yes, I know it's using the political process, but it's putting some heat. Maybe, getting, because I told, there was a recent thing, Robbie, I can't remember where it happened, and yes, it was a small community, but there was the insurance company that covered the city had to pay out a pretty large claim against a cop who was pretty abusive. And because of that loss, they dropped the insurance, and because of the publicity, nobody would cover the city for the police anymore. They don't have a police department. So that's a contemporary, I know it's a very small community. I get that, but it's the possibility, because if it's happened there and a few other places, it can happen again. And I think we should do that. Not only complaints to the bar and judicial conduct commissions against these people, but include a copy of the complaint against the insurance, making of our claim against the insurance. I think we need to do that.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's really funny that they've been expending all of these resources, and, with the plea deal that they've been offering me the whole time has been 8 hours of community service. And every time I go to court, I say, I'm trying to take the plea deal. I just want to plead guilty, but I don't want to perjure myself. I just need to know. I need to be informed of the cause and nature of these proceedings.
I just want to see the facts that the prosecution has presented to make a prima facie case that the Constitution and Code apply, and does any jurisdiction to hear this against me. That's it. Oh, and I want to know if he's got a witness with personal knowledge of those facts. They have to do that anyway. I want everyone who's new to understand we are not asking them to do something that they're not already required to do. So what I would suggest before we're out of time for this segment is filing not only the insurance claim, and you can just go start, for those listening, start with risk management for the city or county that's prosecuting you. And you can sometimes get the claim forms off their website. If not, you can email them, and they'll email you a PDF. I would file a motion, the motion in limine, and the motion to, and you email me after the show, I'll send it to you, the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct. He or she is clearly arguing without any evidence. And let them say, I don't need evidence, because now you've got evidence of a rigged game.
Yep, and that's one thing is I have the prosecutor saying the state never presents evidence before a plea is entered. And later on in that same hearing, I have the judge saying, I'm not going to accept the plea until you've given up all your rights. Her exact words.
Oh, well, they're really bullying you. That's the only right you're giving up when you, there are some rights if you're going to plead guilty, which the rights are not surrendered until you sign it, is that you're giving up your right to appeal the decision other than the punishment. And you're giving up your right to, a fair trial, but you have to actually sign it first. So they have to, bottom line here, everybody, they have to disclose the proof of jurisdiction before there's any kind of plea taken. They have to do that as soon as it's challenged. If the judge is insisting that there's jurisdiction to force you to participate in arraignment, then the prosecution had to have submitted sufficient evidence to support the decision that there was jurisdiction. Where is it? It's not. So they're really bullying you. And I would say do a motion to change the judge, but it's probably not going to go anywhere because you're just going to, even if they change the judge, they've already done it 10 times.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all they could do is just get you another judge to do the same thing. So that's what I would do. Contact me off air, Robbie, and we'll get you the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct. You'll have to edit it appropriately, but there's very little you'll have to do, okay?
Okay.
All right. My name is Marc Stevens. Appreciate the call from Robbie in Portland. We'll get the link for his video for what happened in the Portland airport there, so you can check that out. And we'll be back with your calls in just a few moments. Don't go away. Welcome back to the No State Project. I'm your host for these 3 hours of Anarchy Radio on the Liberty Radio Network, and we're going to have an additional hour. Actually, the hour on Wednesday, since there are no commercials, that's actually half of the actual content of the 3-hour broadcast. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We're going to do that on November 16th because we've got 5 more segments to go here, and I've got more callers and segments, and I don't like having just one caller a segment. It usually doesn't work out that way. Because what we're doing here is like with Robbie trying to help give people the tools necessary to properly defend yourselves. And when you can go in, and with very little training, be able to get 10 arraignments. And that's pretty good to have them talk down to you. Because, look, all we're doing is asking for evidence. And to respond by treating you like a child, yeah, you know I'm the judge. Yeah, I know you're the violent individual with psychopathic tendencies who has no problem throwing a peaceful man in jail just for asking a question. Yeah, I understand that. I got it. I get it. And it's just because we are asking for evidence they're supposed to have, which they don't. And you know when they start arguing that they don't have to prove it, your questions are getting them to expose themselves as the criminals that they are. Well, it's just the way it's done. Appeal to a tradition. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it moral. We have a new caller. We have area code 405. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, you guys have been patient. Maybe they're just listening to the show, but area code 405. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Yeah, I'm getting nothing. No, it's not muted. All right, well, we'll go back to them. We got plenty. We definitely got. That's what we got plenty of here today. We got plenty of content, and we got a lot of callers. So he or she has been very patient also, but they're at area code 978. Hey, what the? Area code 978. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Wendy. I'm calling from Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee. I'm sorry. What was your name again?
Wendy.
Wendy, welcome to the show. What do you got for us today?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Well, I got some templates off you today. I just wanted to make sure that I was in the right the step. Actually, I went to a hearing with the judge. The cop wasn't there, and he ended up trying to drop the case, but they said that I'd have to pay the court costs, which was $144. So the ticket was only $34. And I refused and asked him about the jurisdiction, and he said that he had it when the cop had given me the ticket. So now I guess I have pretrial, and I got those templates. I just wanted to make sure that I had enough time to put those templates into the court system before November 22nd is when the pretrial is.
Oh, yeah, and if that's the pretrial, you absolutely have the time. But let me ask you this. And this is why one of the things I always discuss on the show is that you have to spend time role-playing to prep to go to court. And so I recommended everybody contact me at Frank Rizzo 3 or go to upcoming events at markstevens.net on the right-hand side so that you can go directly to the No State Project Skype chat and let the guys and girls know that, or women, sorry, that that you're needing to prep for court, and then they can pull you into another room and you guys can spend some time doing that. Because the thing that interests me is when the judge, this is what's going to help with the role playing, by the way. When the judge said when the cop wrote the ticket, he got jurisdiction. What did you say?
Well, and here's the thing. I just wanted to add. I refused and called 911 on the cop because he tried to get me out on the side of the highway. So I was refusing to give my license because I told him I wasn't driving in commerce and, all this. So he actually wrote that on the ticket.
Yeah,
that I wasn't.
That's why I think I mentioned to you on an email, you don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize.
All right, but keep this in mind. What you want to do in the discovery request, when you put that in there, it should already be in there, but maybe you want to make it separate so that you know this. You have to see a back of the ticket that the cop wrote. You don't want just your copy. You want what he submitted to the court. You need to see.
I returned it within 3 days and refused it. I don't know if that has any bearing on it, but
you have a court date for November 20th. But you have a court date for November 22nd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had nothing. Yeah, it didn't do anything. See, they're letting the judge know we've got a sovereign here. Hammer her. And so you got to see the back of that ticket that was submitted to the judge because they put notes on there that you can't otherwise see. And I know there was some pretty nasty stuff that was probably on mine, the last one I got. And I mentioned that to Garcia in Mesa here, and he said, "No, that was a discovery issue. You should have brought it up." I said, "Excuse me, I did. I was saying that I already did before we did any of this. I didn't get any discovery. He absolutely would not show me a copy of the back of that ticket, which led me to believe that cop. I got to calm down. That cop wrote some pretty nasty things. So definitely put that. In fact, I'm pretty certain it's in the discovery request." Awesome. Just put it in highlights.
Okay, so I got four actually templates from you. So I send the first one and the second one, right?
The motion to dismiss.
The motion to dismiss
and discovery request.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. All right.
So bring me back here to what you said to the judge when he answered you. And
I was really nervous, but he was really nice, and like he even said on the record that the court fines were ridiculous, but what I was by myself in there. So he waited to the end and he just, I asked him, I'm like, how did you get jurisdiction? And he told me that when the cop gave you a ticket, that's when I got jurisdiction.
Oh, so what we want to do is make sure that we frame our question very, very specific so it's more difficult for them to answer. And said, look, has the prosecution submitted sufficient evidence proving jurisdiction that the Constitution and Code apply to me because I'm physically in Tennessee, which is a lot better of a question. But now, because the thing is, you still...
Well, it's actually in Kentucky that I got the ticket because I was going back and forth.
That's right, because I sent
I'm in Tennessee now, yeah.
Right, that's right, because in Kentucky they still call it a demur. So, right, yeah. So what you can the first thing you should always be saying is objection. So when they say something like that to you again, we all know that that's crap. Mm-hmm. So when they say that, you want to say objection. What part of the ticket is evidence proving that you have jurisdiction over me? And then because what he's saying is very vague and sounds good. But when
not even that, but the prosecutor wasn't there or the cops, so wasn't he practicing behind the bench?
No, I don't know if that qualifies as practicing law from the bench. You asked him a direct question, how did you acquire? And so he's telling you when the cop wrote the ticket. So I don't think that itself qualifies as practicing law. Practicing law from the bench is giving legal advice, for example. So I have an example that I have is where we filed a request for admissions against the IRS when we were in court, and they never responded. And so the judge said to the attorney, his name was Kennedy, I am advising you to file a motion to set aside the admissions. That is practicing law from the bench. That's a pretty
when he
clear-cut
advises.
example of that. If so, here, just all right. So you've got a pretrial. So what did he do? Did he plead not guilty for you?
No. He just set it up for trial. When I told him, when he asked me to pay the court costs, and I said, I'm not going to do that. You know, that's ridiculous. And he said, well, then we'll set it up for pretrial.
Oh, so no plea. Okay. So you still have the unsigned plea of guilty that I sent you, which is supposed to stay unsigned unless they're going to offer you a smoking deal, which does happen. But that is something you can still use at the pretrial conference, because the pretrial conference that's your opportunity. You'll get some leverage on the prosecution because he will not be able to give you the evidence or the name of a qualified witness. And then you can use that as leverage to get this thrown out. And so from what's happened already with
I plan on calling him Monday and asking those questions.
Okay. Remember, you don't discuss the stop. You're only asking him questions. You have no business discussing the stop. So keep it straightforward and ask him, I want to know the proof. I want the evidence proving the Constitution and Code apply to me because I'm physically in Kentucky. And then I want to know the name of your witness with personal knowledge. That's it. That's all I'm interested in. And if you have it, I am more than happy to entertain a plea of guilty.
Okay.
And you will be able to use his statements against him if you have to do a motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct, which you more than likely will be able to do if it's not thrown out at the pretrial.
Okay.
We're up against the break, so just hold. Wendy, hold on 1 second. We're up against the break. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. We'll be back with Wendy in Tennessee in just a few moments, so please don't go away. Yeah, welcome back to the No State Project, the top of the third hour of Anarchy Radio right here on LRN.FM. And we're taking, I can't take any more calls. And we only have 4 segments left, and unfortunately, we're not going to get to everybody. But if everyone wants to stay on the caller line so you can hear, that's great. We're going to be doing a live broadcast. It should be the first one on Wednesday. It's going to be an hour commercial-free at 4 Mountain Standard Time, which is 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 if you're on the West Coast. And I imagine it's going to be Thursday morning in Australia and New Zealand. So if you're tuning in down under, which I hope you do, mate, tune in. I would imagine it's about 11 o'clock. It's the average time, 11 a.m. on Thursday morning for the YouTube broadcast. So definitely, please, tune in. Looking forward to that. So I want to get back to Wendy in Tennessee, who's got a problem over there in Kentucky.
Hickville.
All right, we're back, Wendy. And Wendy, I noticed Wendy you're participating in the chat.
Yes.
Great. Definitely get some role playing done. The guys are the guys and ladies are really good with that. And usually after the show, there's a marathon session. So for those who if you just want to listen in and not participate, great. That's great.
The purpose of asking that prosecutor if he has any witnesses or evidence is to use that last template to plead guilty. Is that what that is?
Well, it's the plead guilty is to kind of stop the process and put the burden and the focus squarely on the prosecutor's shoulders, either put up or shut up. And it also sets him up for the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct, because if he starts saying things that I don't have that, I don't need that, those statements are valuable to use against him, because you're showing his extreme bad faith. You're showing it's a rigged system and that he is knowingly arguing without evidence. And I think the insurance company would be very interested in hearing that he is coming after you, and you'll have his admission. The guy, the claims adjuster at the insurance company may not fully understand, but he's going to understand the prosecutor saying, I don't have to prove that, and say, I'm being screwed here. I got a prosecutor who's saying he does not have to prove his case. That is it. And just for those who are listening, I fully understand. You cannot. We, the plebes, are never going to pierce the immunity shield that the prosecutors and judge have. But the insurance company, their risk management, they are on the hook. Their policy covers the judge and the prosecutor. So it's a way of trying to hold them accountable and maybe have them avoid the claim by jumping in and saying, no, we're pulling the plug on this. You can't keep doing this because we're not going to be on the hook for the damage you cause.
Right.
So even if he's not going to speak to you on the phone this week, he has to speak to you on the 22nd at pretrial.
Okay.
And you're there in the
Right.
spirit of resolution. Hey, if you've got the evidence, I will plead guilty right now. I'll even pay the court fees. Put it out there. Put the ball in his corner where it belongs. And so you're going to drop all this I was in commerce stuff, drop all of that stuff. All you should be focusing on, and the guys and ladies in the chat will help you with this. Your only purpose is to ask questions to get them to verify whether their claim is true or not. And that's by asking for witnesses and evidence.
Okay.
All right?
I got it.
All right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate the call. Wendy in Tennessee, who is going to be going to a pretrial in Kentucky, where they're already looking to dismiss. They just want the money. They want the money. So, but either way, I mean, if they do find you guilty, they're going to tack on the $134 or more in court fees. So, but this is a principled stand. Screw you. You don't have a case. If you did, I'd plead guilty right now. And so I'm not paying anything. It's wrong. And some people may decide, even as a principled stance, that this is damage control. So depending on the circumstances, if they say 134, if they were looking for 1,000, that's effective damage control. Here, they're asking for 33. So 134, yeah, not so much. Well, they just asked for the 33. We'll try area code 405 again. Area code 405, you're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, how you doing? This is Rick. I'm calling from Massachusetts. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing well. How you doing up there? Is it wicked awesome up there?
Yeah, no, it's a little windy today, a little cold. I was just playing baseball with my nephew. But yeah, man, you've been great. Actually, we've been back and forth a little bit with emails. And I'm just now getting acquainted with how corrupt the system is. I'm also an anarchist, man. I think I've been an anarchist for life. When you're given a choice of, two candidates, I mean, who are both, I would say are both pretty unsuitable. But I don't know. I don't think that we should have, people just totally owning our rights and our freedoms and our liberties, however which way they suit, because once you vote them, they can just turn around and do whatever it is. But obviously I don't want to get into politics too much. I do have this case against me where I was stopped. I was stopped in my vehicle. I was not waving or, I was just following the law, but I was stopped immediately. When I saw the cop, he turned on his emergency lights and proceeded to stop me. Then he stayed idle in his vehicle for like 5 minutes, ran my plates. I assume he ran my plates. I was in a town, first of all, I was in a town where it's known to be a college town, a lot of partying going on or whatnot. I'm a little past that age, so definitely was not drinking, but I believe he stopped me because maybe he thought I was drinking but he claimed that my inspection sticker was outdated. Which it was. I was driving my friend's car. I didn't know it at the time, but his inspection sticker had expired a month prior. And so little did I know about this, but he started asking questions after he got out of the vehicle, and he saw this object. He wanted to take a look at it. I showed it to him. It was like a hinge for a door. It turned out in his police report that he basically he said that he pulled me out of the vehicle to make sure everything was safe. And
that's how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, he basically exploited the scope of the stop. He expanded the scope of the stop asking ridiculous questions, where I was going, where I was coming from. I was not answering any of those questions. I guess I pissed him off when I said, hey, you know, are you pulling me over? Are you trying to extort me? He immediately, after I said that, he immediately got me off the vehicle. But he didn't say that in the police report. In his police report, he said that he got me out of the vehicle for his safety because I had some object that he did not know. Not only did I show him the object, you know, I put it away. The person next to me actually put it away and whatnot. He claimed that he feared for his safety. I'm a Hispanic. I'm honorable discharge from the U.S. Air Force. You know, not a bad guy at all. I'm totally with my hands on the steering wheel. But that's what he claims. That's what he claims in the police report. Now, the lawyer. Now, I'm going to school for mechanical engineering. You know, I've been an aircraft mechanic for like 10 years. Just now going to school again, just to, I don't know, better myself. I mean, I have a little girl who's 2 years old.
Well, Rick, we're at it. Well, hold on, Rick. We're up against a break, so just hold on, and we'll get back because there's a lot of stuff to go through on this. So just hold tight. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the third of 3 hours of Anarchy Radio right here on LRN.FM. I'm not going to give out the caller number because we are all booked up and jammed up solid, but we'll do our best to get to everybody, so don't go away. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. Liberty Radio Network, 3 hours of Anarchy Radio, of course. On the Liberty Radio Network, we will be doing, starting November 16th, well, barring any tech issues, which I don't think. I think a live stream is a fairly easy thing to do, even for myself. So we'll have an extra hour of content. I don't know for sure. I have to talk with Ian Freeman of the network and Free Talk Live, which is on in 45 minutes. But maybe the extra content will make it into the podcast rotation. Either way, you will be able to get that, of course, thanks to Calvin at markstevens.net. And, of course, this show will be posted. I'm hoping it's a hell of a time to render a 3-hour or a 2-hour HD video. But hopefully that will be posted on YouTube today. But I will do my best to get that done for y'all. But we're talking with... we're talking with Rick in Massachusetts. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, Rick, and I'm going to say that you're not originally from Massachusetts.
No, you know, I'm Hispanic. I'm from Puerto Rico. I've lived in the United States of America for a good portion of my life. I mean, since I was 21 years old. But yeah, these people want to make me a statistic from their scheme, make me part of the system, give me a criminal record for DUI, even though I was not drinking, even though I submitted to the their whole test. The police officer is claiming that I stuttered my words. However, they don't have any audible. In the video, I performed the entire test, like any normal person would. I didn't, I had perfect balance. When I was taken to the police station, there's even video there, and there's a voice recording. Now, for some reason, they do have the voice recording at the police station. I'm speaking, I'm argumenting, saying, hey, if this is part of the Constitution, then by all means. But I do want a lawyer, so I claim my rights to a lawyer. Before answering any questions, they did read me the Miranda rights. They did tell me that I was being videotaped and audio taped, the whole nine. But I requested a lawyer. They refused to give me a lawyer. And according to Massachusetts Constitution, they don't have to provide me with a lawyer or anything like that. Now, I'm not going by Massachusetts Constitution. I'm going by the U.S. Constitution, which affords you a lawyer whenever you are being held or imprisoned or subject to interrogation, which I believe a test to breathalyze is some sort of an interrogation, and they're questioning your body contents. But I never refused. It's on video. In fact, I argumented, hey, I'm not refusing, but they put me as a refusal just for asking questions or for asking for an attorney. So they put me for a refusal. Now I'm going to court for the first time this Wednesday and trying to fight all these claims with a lawyer that's not answering any of my calls, who has not given me the video tapes. I saw the video tapes because I went to the Department of Motor Vehicles, and they have a lawyer who was able to get the tapes like 3 days after I went there. So now this is in Boston. I live all the way in Western Mass. So I, again, when he got the videos, I went the next week to Boston and saw the videos. So that's why I'm able to say, what it is that happened. And there's obvious evidence recorded saying that I did not refuse.
Okay.
But basically, I do want to question their jurisdiction.
But Rick, yeah, that's what I was getting to, the issue of jurisdiction. I mean, even though it's a DUI and you have you weren't drinking and you have evidence to defeat them on the merits, you still, I think it's always best to challenge jurisdiction. But I would never make any statements to them that you're invoking the protection of their Constitution. It's one thing to point out that they're violating their alleged obligation to comply with the Due Process Clause. It's something else when you claim the protection, because if you do that, they're going to use it against you to show as proof of jurisdiction. Because when you're invoking the protection of the Constitution, you have no standing to then challenge their assertion of jurisdiction that the Constitution applies to you.
Okay.
So keep that in mind.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that it's a very important issue. That's why I say to people well, can't you invoke the Fifth Amendment? What you want to do is ask them, are you trying to coerce me to testify against myself? Now that says a hell of a lot more and has more impact than to just try to claim, I'm not going to say anything because of the Fifth Amendment. It's just not the way I would want. I would want to remain consistent throughout, and so point out a due process violation, but don't invoke the protection of their Constitution.
Okay, definitely. And what about this lawyer? I mean, first of all, when I was arraigned about 24 hours after I was caged, I had to go before a judge, and he, without my consent, he basically ruled that I was not guilty. He did a non-guilty plea. And when I was about to say something, he said, "No, you're not. It's not time for you to speak. You're going to be assigned a lawyer." So we're already moving forward with this, and I don't even know the merits of the case. I wanted to speak, against the merits of the case because these cops completely falsified an arrest report. They claimed that I refused to breathalyze. I never refused. This is on video. The lawyer assigned said that it's not a good idea to put the video for the jury if in case it goes that far, which I'm going to take it as far as I can. I mean, even to the Supreme Court if I can. I mean, it is my will that this really gets exposed because this can happen to anyone. Under the scenario that the police officers have, basically the police officer played the judge. He played the prosecutor. He basically made a whole case against me, and I was powerless. I could not do anything. He basically put in a refusal. Good thing everything was videotaped at the headquarters.
Yeah.
It's too bad that they're using the video against or his police report against me.
Sure.
When in fact the video, they don't even have an audio when they were doing all these tests. They said that I fumbled the words or something like that, which is not true. I did my ABCs. I counted backwards all the way up to 76. But I mean, I did everything right. I mean, but they're claiming otherwise. I don't have any power to say no, that was not true because there's no audio. They can't find the audio. It's almost as if they tampered with the evidence.
They do, and that's a very common thing. Usually, if the video has very incriminating against the police officers, it goes lost, and it's a very real possibility, but you won't be able to prove that. So that's why we stick to challenging the jurisdiction and impeaching the police officers. We're running out of time, but just hold tight. My name is Marc Stevens. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on the No State Project. Don't go away. Yeah, Rick, I'm going to do my best to I've got a whole line of callers that I'm going to try to get to. So let me just say this off air, which this is still going to be on the podcast. I would get the motion to dismiss and the discovery request and start being very aggressive in trying to get them, to keep them on, to meet their burden of proof. And if you have to file for prosecutorial misconduct, to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct, then you should. And that's what we've been doing as a regular part of defending ourselves here. So if you don't have that stuff already, it is available at markstevens.net. And so,
I actually I got the motions from you,
okay.
And I got I think it was some sort of a questioning thing that I also got from the website, or I don't know if I received it, but I did pay for it last Friday.
Okay, that's the script.
But yeah, how do I get a misconduct from the witness? Or how do I get the witness to impeach him or something like that?
Well, that's very easy to do, and that's what we go through with the role playing. So one of the things that you can do to impeach the police officer, it's a very simple line of questioning. Remember, the police officers are making legal determinations against you. That is what drives them to impeach him. They don't want you to ask him questions about that because they're just cops. But they're making these determinations with a gun. And so two questions, very simple. Mr. Police Officer, did you determine on your own that the Massachusetts Constitution and laws apply to me just because you saw me physically in Massachusetts? And he'll say yes. That's absolutely the way. All you have to do there, the follow-up question, is what gets them to impeach him for you. That you say, do you have any evidence whatsoever that would prove that just because I'm physically in Massachusetts, your Constitution applies to me? And that is what's going to get him impeached. Now, remember, he made these determinations. They'll turn around and say, well, he's only here to discuss the facts. Yeah, I'm asking him for the facts. The facts his determination of probable cause were based on. They'll still do it. That's what you need, hopefully, that one person on that jury that you can explain in your closing statement why they shouldn't convict you, because the witnesses aren't qualified. And they may not substitute their own judgment for the cops. So I don't have enough time to get into that now.
Those are great questions.
Oh, yeah, well, all these I highly recommend you get into the No State Project Skype chat so that you can go through this and spend a few hours in the next few weeks doing this. So, and before I let you go, are you near Springfield?
Yeah, I live in Springfield, Mass. Yeah.
You live in Springfield. Look at this.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, my great great grandmother was a Cullen. Well, her brother is Patrick Cullen, so you imagine there's probably a lot of there's a lot of Patricks there, but if there's Cullens in Springfield, there's a good chance I'm related.
It's pretty awesome, man. It's pretty awesome. It's a good city. It's about 160,000 people. But there's so much corruption. The cops, now they're putting a casino for the first time ever. You see so many cops driving around. It almost looks like a police state. I mean, it's
you are in a police state. There's no doubt there that you're in a police state. But we're coming back from a break, so I got to let you go. But contact me off air. We'll get you into the No State Project Skype chat. So contact me at Frank Rizzo 3, okay?
Frank, what was that again? Frank what?
Frank Rizzo 3.
Okay, perfect. Will do. Thanks
All right,
so much.
Appreciate the call, Rick. And keep in touch.
Take care, Mark. All right, have a good one.
Welcome back to the No State Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of Government Indicted. There's a lot we're not going to be able to get to today, but I wanted to point out that the role-playing is very, very important in learning how to defend yourself against these people. You've got to do the role-playing. Don't keep it just theoretical. You've got to get into the practical. You don't just talk about playing guitar. You actually have to play and practice, and that's how you get better. So you have to engage other people because the scariest thing is the unknown in there, that you may not know how to respond to certain things they may or may not say. And so there won't be any surprises if you understand the basic tactics. You're just asking questions, and if they throw something at you don't understand, know that it's BS, and you could just ask a follow-up question. First, is this really your position? Oh, it is? Then how so? Or please tell me where you found this. So it's easy to deconstruct the garbage that's coming out of their mouth. And any layman or laywoman can do that, as I show again in the video from today about the Texas ticket being thrown out, and of course yesterday when I deconstruct and completely debunk a Department of Justice prosecutor, someone who works for the Attorney General's office in Edmonton. Very easy to do if you stay focused, but it's very important that you actually engage other people. So Frank Rizzo 3 is my Skype username, or you go to the upcoming events on markstevens.net. So I want to go, I think this is Connecticut, but I'm not sure. We have area code 860. You've been very, very patient. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey. How you doing, Mark? My name is Chris. I'm actually just right underneath your last caller. I'm in Guilford, Connecticut.
I was right. Hey, I got that. Excellent. Well, Chris, what do you got for us today?
Well, I actually have, and this is maybe it's a little early to be on the line, but I'm gonna check it out with you first. Back about the beginning of August, I was really doing something totally horrible. I was shellfishing without a license.
Oh,
and
no.
The Department of Fish and Game, don't you know, had to attack me, and they issued me a summons to appear in court. I actually just recently had my first court appearance, and the prosecutor, I don't know if this lady was just tired or if this is the way she is, but when it was my turn to have my pretrial conference with her, I step in this little room with her, and she obviously goes over the whole thing that I already know because I was there. And she says, well, you know, basically, what do you want to do with this? I would hope that you guys would just leave me alone. But
nice. Okay.
You know, and I actually said that, and she looked at me and she said, well, that's not going to happen. So, you know, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut the ticket and I'm going to cut the fine in half, and you'll pay today. I says, no, I'm not going to pay today. I'm not paying any day. I says, I want to know what evidence you're relying on that I was even in the town of Guilford at the time that I was attacked. Oh, and let me tell you, when I said that, her whole demeanor just changed. She became possessed.
Wow.
So basically what happened is, well, if you're going to be standing on that position, then I think I should put you down for put you on the docket. I think is what she said.
Okay, sounds
so and she says you know, I'm going to put you on the docket and we'll see you back in 30 days, and pretty much booted me out of there because of what I said to her, and I don't know if I accidentally tipped my hat on where I'm going to be going with this when my turn does come up in a month. But I think I'm going to be sticking to my guns and bringing it up, you know, what evidence are you relying on that I was actually in the town of Guilford at the time that you guys, you know, detained me?
Okay, but I think the better way to go there, Chris, as you know, is what evidence do you rely on to prove that just because I was physically in Guilford, which you're separating the two, one from the municipality and the other ground, just because I was physically in Guilford, that your Constitution and Code apply to me. Now, if she got upset, see, now she got upset before. Wait till you hit her with that one.
Well, I see. The thing is, I don't know. I'm assuming she's going to be there in a month when I appear back on the docket. But what my next question is do you think the actual Fish and Game agent will be there?
The fish, yes, they should be there because he's acting, and it's the same thing with the police officer who wrote you a ticket. That's the witness. He's the one that charged, so he's the one that would go on the stand. So I would file the motion to dismiss with the discovery request, like on Monday, so that they have that well in advance, and make sure that you address those before any kind of hearing is done.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and basically, you know, and I looked at it this way, and I says, you know, this is because when I got home, I did some investigating, and number one, the Department of Fish and Game is an agency of the state, not the town. But I guess the two are, you know, the same.
Well, they're acting in concert together, so the court they write the tickets that the local court will hear. I mean,
Right,
you can have
because the-
state police that give you a traffic ticket, and they'll be heard in the justice court, the county court. So, and they're all subdivisions of the state. I do have to point out one of the most important aspects of this, and that is, to quote Bruce, "Fish are friends, not food." So maybe.
Well, we were having a clam bake, and I said, "Why am I buying all this fresh seafood at the market when I live in Guilford, Connecticut?" So
I understand.
that's actually what happened. Yeah, you're right. But but that's not the. I don't think that's the argument. I think the argument is what evidence are they saying, or what evidence are they relying on that is actually compelling me to get their piece of paper that says that I have their permission to to shellfish.
Well, I think to put even a better. To explain it even better or ask a better question is, where is the evidence that their constitution and code apply to you and create an obligation on you to get this?
Okay.
So where does the Constitution apply to me because I'm physically in Connecticut and also creates an obligation on me? So it's the creation of the obligation. Where is the evidence to show that this piece of paper from 200 years ago created an obligation on me today?
Now, do you think in 30 days my next mode of attack should be to either try to impeach the Fish and Game agent, or should I just hold the prosecutor to her guns and just just show the court, hey, listen, this lady has absolutely no evidence?
I would hold the prosecution to their burden of proof, and that they admittedly don't have the evidence, and that they don't have a witness with personal firsthand knowledge. And if they force it, then you're going to object to the police officer being put on the stand on the grounds that there's not personal firsthand knowledge. And if they put him on the stand, then you ask him the questions that will impeach him, such as what I just discussed with Rick off air, where you ask him, did you determine on your own that just because I was physically in Connecticut, your Constitution and laws applied to me? Like, yes, I did. Great. What proof do you have right now that would prove that just because I was physically in Connecticut, your Constitution applied to me? That will cause the prosecution to leap out of their chair and object, and they'll make all sorts of false claims that he's only there to testify to the facts, which you can say, hey, jackass, I just asked him about the facts that his legal claim was based on. So why didn't you sit down?
Wouldn't the prosecutor be jumping out of his chair with something like maybe this is a legal conclusion or something?
Yeah. Well, yes, they'll say it calls for a legal conclusion, and he's only there to testify to the facts. Now, they didn't, and that's why you point out, excuse me, when I asked him if he determined the Constitution and laws apply to me, that was a legal conclusion that you did not object to. I'm only asking him for the facts now that he based it on. And if you want to argue that your own witness is incompetent, then why the hell did you fight me so hard and put him on the stand at the beginning of this dog and pony show that you call a trial? You dishonest mother. You.
So, okay, so...
Oh, hold on. We're up against the break there, Chris. So just hold on 1 second. We'll finish off air. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. We'll be right back. Okay, so just to finish this, we have to do this off air because we're going to try to get to at least one other caller. So hang on, everybody. So what were you going to say?
Oh, yeah, no. So I was saying now, would you be recommending maybe on Monday or in the beginning of the week just filing a motion to dismiss because of lack of evidence?
Yes, I would file the motion to dismiss for lack of evidence proving jurisdiction and that there's no valid cause of action, and the discovery request because they've already pushed you into towards a trial. So that needs to be filed also. And it's also a Brady request.
I asked the prosecutor right before I left. Well, can I get any discovery? And she goes, yeah, I'll send you the code for the Shellfish Commission.
Yeah, well, that's a standard thing that they do. You have to actually, and I have it. I'll send it. You order it, and I'll send you that with the instructions. And it gives you. It's a lot more detailed than what we're asking for. We want the name of the witness with personal firsthand knowledge of evidence proving that the Constitution applies just because you're physically in Connecticut. That's very important because under the Brady rule, they have to give you exculpatory evidence, and that includes all information and evidence that tends to impeach their case and their witnesses. So if they know something about that witness that you could use to impeach him, they have to give that to you. If that prosecutor knows ahead of time that they don't have personal firsthand knowledge that the Constitution applies to you, they have to say that. They have to actually articulate that and tell you. But they won't, because they know full well that they're giving up their entire case. That if they proceed against you anyway, it's prosecutorial misconduct. They could be disbarred. They could go to jail.
I'm looking at a copy. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm looking at a copy of the actual summons here, and it says here, arresting officer. Now, I was never arrested. I was just handed a ticket.
Well, it's the same thing. When they stopped you and gave you the ticket, that's considered a custodial arrest.
Okay.
You weren't taken into custody.
Arresting officer or agency. It says the Connecticut Department of Fish and Game.
Yeah.
And that's why I was questioning. I'm thinking, well, when was I arrested? I was never arrested. But yeah, you are correct.
You weren't taken to jail. So you have to they have to subpoena the agent, the officer who wrote that ticket for you. And they have to give you his name, and that's what you want in discovery, because you need to have his name if you don't have it.
Yeah, it's signed down below, but heck if I can read it.
Oh, sure. It's a fairly standard thing. Yeah, so get their name and get the information. And get into the Skype No State Project chat so that you can start prepping to go toe-to-toe with these people. And I have a script available for that. All right?
I appreciate it, Mark. Thank you very much.
Good luck, Chris, and keep in touch.
All right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Will do.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's Chris in Connecticut. Holy crap, we have really gone fast in these 3 hours of Anarchy Radio here on the Liberty Radio Network. Oh, wow. Not going to be able to get to everybody. I really apologize. We'll get one more caller. Again, we look forward to broadcasting live on a YouTube stream on November 16th. No commercials. That will be 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll have it posted at markstevens.net. The number is the same. Call the numbers here, 218-632-9399. So whoever we miss today, hopefully you guys can call on Wednesday, and hey, no commercial interruptions. So, and before I forget, I want to let everyone know I appreciate the continued support of the show, helping to make the broadcast continue, especially being able to do it on Wednesdays. Do our best to get to as many people as possible, because, hey, that's what the show is about. It's actually working with people and empowering them to defend themselves. We're not looking for ratings. We don't want to say that we have the biggest Liberty podcast or broadcast in the world. It doesn't matter. As long as we're helping people and there's more people empowered to defend themselves and understand that there is no government and that there's more people not complying and more people not paying taxes and setting their lives up so that they don't have to pay taxes as much as practical, hey, then we're doing what we need to do. So we have area code, I guess it's Utah. We have someone in Utah. Area code 801. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Jake Smith. I'm calling from Ogden, Utah.
Jake from Ogden. How are you doing today?
Not so good. I got pulled over. Let's see, it was in July, and it was right after I went and bought some paraphernalia at a drive-up window. The lady at the drive-up window stated to me before I pulled away, she said, "People leaving here because of that cop across the street." So I knew he was there. Wow. And he continued. He followed me, pulled me over, a couple of miles down the road, and then stated that he smelled marijuana and they gave him right to search. I refused consent twice, and he, looked like he was going to get physical, so I stepped out of the vehicle. And so he went through my car and found some stuff. So I've been through arraignment and pled not guilty. I have pre-trial conference set for I think the 29th of this month. And I actually filed an affidavit of, my statement of the facts of knowing, that he was there and witnessed. I didn't until I read his report, I didn't understand really that he didn't know that I seen it, that I knew he was there following me,
Well,
There was
I don't think it's well. Look, we got to go quick because we're out of time, and I can't really do anything after the show today. Um, I don't think we have any business, except in limited circumstances, filing an affidavit and making statements. The affidavit, even if it's done correctly, if when you're talking about a code violation like this and not a real crime, our most effective way is just to show that their arguments, their claims are completely without substantiation. There's no evidence. It's almost 100% reification fallacy. Okay, that they imagine that because you're physically in Utah, their constitution, a written instrument from 120 years ago, applies to you and creates an obligation on you. I mean, it's all complete BS. It's nonsense. And I don't see the benefit, except in limited circumstances, of putting in an affidavit of your own. Hold these people to their burden of proof, and that has been always been sufficient at being able to get these things tossed out. So I would recommend, like I have with all the other callers, filing a motion to dismiss based on lack of evidence proving jurisdiction and a valid cause of action and whatnot, and putting in the Brady request, the discovery request, so that you can find out what evidence do you rely on to prove the foundation of your case, and who's the witness with personal knowledge of that, which is going to be the cop. And like we were just talking with Chris from Connecticut, there's no way in the world that they're going to be able to give you that evidence. So they have to, under Brady, under fairness and due process. Even in Canada, they got the same thing. They just don't call it Brady. If he knows that witness does not have personal first-hand knowledge that the Constitution applies to you because you're physically in Utah, he has to say that. Yeah. He has to actually articulate that. This witness that I plan to use because it's impeachment material, and he has to give you impeachment material. Now, they don't ever do that, but it's your job to call them out on that and say, this is prosecutorial misconduct. He's arguing without evidence, without a witness.
Yeah.
And so if you've got a 29th pretrial, that's your opportunity to look that prosecutor dead in the eye and ask him for these things. Say, hey, man, I will plead guilty now. Have you met your burden of proof so far? And he won't be able to. And you can ask, and I suggest that you ask him, are you telling me that you're arguing without witnesses and without evidence to back up your argument? You are. Oh, you're allowed to do that? Really? So you can argue without evidence, and it's considered irrefutable, and I can't even challenge it? How is that not? And you think that's fair?
Yeah, right.
So this gives us leverage to get a better deal if that's something that you're open to.
Yeah, right.
Because look where you're doing this. You get paraphernalia in Ogden, Utah.
I can't accept the charges at all because it's he had no probable cause and he lied about his probable cause. Said he smelled marijuana.
Oh, that's
marijuana.
That's such a standard lie. That's why we mentioned, Jake, that you don't roll your window down more than a couple of inches because they're going to lie and say, I smell pot. Oh, yeah, please. You saw me coming from a paraphernalia shop. You lied.
Yeah. Exactly.
So get into the I'm sorry we're so short on time today, but I try to get as many callers as possible. So those who are left in the queue, we're going to be doing a live broadcast on the 16th, the same call-in number. Please call early. We don't have any commercials, so we can cover more ground in a shorter period of time. So get into the Skype chat, the No State Project Skype chat, linked at markstevens.net under upcoming events. Get the motion to dismiss and the package, and the script, and start role-playing. And so when you go in on the 29th, you'll know how to keep that prosecutor's feet to the fire and possibly get it tossed out. I mean, you could always say to the judge, excuse me, sir, as I've put in my motion, the man is now openly admitting, or woman is admitting, to not having any evidence and doesn't think that they need evidence.
Right.
And we know there's going to be a risk management for Ogden that you can file an insurance claim against these people if they won't drop it.
Yeah.
So we got about a minute. Is there a question or a concern that I can address before we're totally out of time?
I haven't screwed myself already by pleading not guilty. I mean, I kind of felt coerced. Like I get nervous in court. A lot of people do.
Well, sure. No, you didn't. Some people think that if you plead guilty, which was on the threat, duress, and coercion, that the whole participation is on the threat, duress, and coercion, that you're giving them jurisdiction. So my question to those people who are listening and may fall in that category of thinking that, How does being forced to plead guilty or not guilty prove the Constitution applies to Jake? I don't. To me, that looks like a mile-wide non sequitur. The two are completely unrelated. So, no, you didn't.
All right.
There's nothing that you can say or do that will prove the Constitution and code apply to you. But what you can do is invoke the protection of the Constitution so they can strip you of standing to even make the challenge. It doesn't mean that the Constitution and code apply to you, but you're giving them an excuse to strip you of standing to complain. It's just like someone taking Social Security benefits and then wanting to complain about it. No, you can't. You have no standing to complain. You may have a legitimate beef, but you have no standing to complain.
Right.
And if I'm speaking fast, it's because I'm trying to get as much jammed into this last segment as possible. I can recommend to you, and I really hope you follow through. Everyone who's called into the show today should be getting in touch with us on the No State Project Skype chat so they can start to do the role playing. They're going to go through the basic precepts, which I have all in Government Indicted, which even when you buy the book, you should still do the role playing. But you're asking questions, the Socratic Method. You just want to ask who, what, where, when, why, and how questions so that the vague statements that they're saying, you can then ask questions to make them more and more specific so that they can even either verify that their argument or claim is true, or it'll come out that they have no grounds for that. And that's proven successful many, many times. Again, markstevens.net, where you have the latest success story in Texas. So congratulations there. And another public thank you for Ginger for sending me the documentary proof. I'm sorry that we're completely out of time. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. And we should be live also on the YouTube on Wednesday, November 16th at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And so till next time, salud. That their argument or claim is true, or it'll come out that they have no grounds for that. And that's proven successful many, many times. Again, markstevens.net, where you have the latest success story in Texas. So congratulations there. And another public thank you for Ginger for sending me the documentary proof. I'm sorry that we're completely out of time. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. And we should be live also on the YouTube on Wednesday, November 16th at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And so till next time, salud.